Hi, I'm Deborah Lamata, and this is Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. I started this podcast because I believe that every woman entrepreneur has a story to tell, and by sharing that story, she could be helping the next woman entrepreneur looking for some guidance. So tune in, get comfortable, and enjoy the series. Hi, and welcome to Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. Today I have with me Tracy Ann McGrath and Tracy Boiselle. Traces of Spirit, how are you both?
I am great.
I'm doing great. Thanks for hosting us, Deb.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you both. Now, Tracy Ann, you are a psychic medium, and Tracy B, you are a paranormal investigator. Plus, there are a few other avenues behind you also that we'll get into later. Tracy Ann, can you tell us what a psychic medium is?
Yes, that's something I do before every reading that I do is explain to my client the difference between a psychic and a psychic medium. So it's important to know that not every psychic is a medium, but every medium is a psychic.
Oh, wow.
So I'll explain that. So a psychic will rely on their intuition to tap into the energy of a client, to gather information about their past, their present, and I'm going to say potential future. And I like to emphasize potential because we all do have free will. And when you do get a psychic reading, it's a snapshot in time, and we have the ability to, affect our future by our thoughts, our decisions, and our beliefs. So we can change aspects of our future, and we have free will, nothing set in stone. A psychic medium is not only able to tap into the energy of a client, but also the client's loved ones in spirit. So to put it bluntly, I'm talking to dead people when I read people.
Okay.
And there are two types of mediumship. What I do is mental mediumship, and that's everything's happening in my mind. So I'm seeing within my mind images, which is clairvoyance. I'm hearing within my mind, so hearing a voice that's not your own, and that's called clairaudience. I also will get smells once in a while, so that would be a clairaudience. Also feeling spirit, literally feeling spirit, feeling their emotions, and palpably feeling spirit, which is called clairsentience. And there's claircognizance, which is just a knowing, like I don't know how I know this, but I do kind of feeling.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll get a taste from spirit. So that's kind of unusual, but that's called clairgustance. So once in a while, tasting something literally. And there is something called physical mediumship, which is not what I do. I kind of call physical mediumship, respectively, kind of the freaky side of mediumship, where you might have rappings, table tipping, automatic writing, where maybe spirit is guiding your hand to write messages. But so there is another aspect to mediumship that is physical mediumship. So I'm doing mental mediumship.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
I was aware of a few of the things that you just described. So when somebody comes to see you and you explain all those areas, are they already have some knowledge of what the psychic medium does?
Usually they do when they come to me. They know they're coming to me to connect to a loved one in spirit.
Okay. All right. And then what was the moment in time where you knew that you had this gift or you had this ability?
I'm going to say is really a slow progression through my life, because as a child, my poor parents, I would see loved ones standing by my bed, loved ones in spirit, having dreams. I had past life recollections too as a little child. So I always knew I was like a little bit different.
Okay.
But I would start to sense, I would dream a lot. And I came to the point where I was dreaming of maybe coworkers, relatives telling me to tell something to them, and just a few aha moments, sitting next to one and somebody and sensing energy around them, getting visions. I knew I had something going on, and it runs in my family. So I knew I had an ability.
So then were you able to talk to somebody in your family about the ability that you have?
I did. So my great-grandmother came from Ireland. She lived on a farm here in Connecticut. She could sense spirit. I never really talked to her about that. Her son, my great uncle, was a farmer. I feel him help me a lot in spirit, but he also could sense spirit. I have a few cousins as well that are extremely intuitive. One's a shaman and a medium as well. So we were able to connect and kind of discuss our abilities, and it can run in families, but we're all intuitive. I tell all my clients, every single one of us is a medium, and every single one of us is psychic.
And so when you knew that you had the ability, you had family members that you could speak with, though, are there other ways that you could build your ability to where you are?
Absolutely. So I always recommend finding an intuitive circle, a safe place where you can practice your abilities. Meditation. I would do meditation classes, healing circles, any safe place to kind of test your intuition. And then I did take some mediumship classes through in Glastonbury with Priscilla Bankston, Healing and Harmony Center. She was wonderful. And she, you were able to practice on people reading. So finding your connection, anything to go within, meditation, I think, is the most powerful way you can connect to spirit.
Okay. You mentioned shamanism. What is that?
Shamanism. It's a very old form of energy work, connecting to spirit. With shamanism, they don't meditate, they take journeys. It's beautiful. I've taken some classes on shamanism, so I really respect it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Traci B, what is paranormal investigating?
All right. So basically, paranormal investigating is doing something very similar to what Tracy Ann is doing. Basically, we are going to, and there's many different techniques for paranormal investigating, and I'll tell you later more about what I do. It's basically going into a location and trying to connect and find evidence of the spirit world.
And were you always interested in the paranormal? And how did you connect to all this?
So I was always interested. I was that strange child that when we would we'd spent a lot of time going on day trips to historic sites like Old Sturbridge Village or Mystic Seaport. My parents really wanted us to learn a lot. So we did go to those places, and I was always the one interested in the ghost books and the stories about hauntings. I never had a paranormal experience that I know of growing up. I just was always very interested in the concept of what happens after we die.
Oh, wow. And so where did you start your paranormal investigation about when?
Okay, so
Yep.
I actually, as it sounds like a cliche, but I started watching the show Ghost Hunters, which depicts the team that I am part of. It's basically the only show about an actual team of paranormal investigators that existed before the show. And I watched, and having a science background myself and a very logical mind, the way that the team investigated really intrigued me and made me feel that if I was going to do this, that I would probably want to do it the way that they did it. And I got very interested and found out that their case manager at the time offered a class up in the former office that they had in Warwick, Rhode Island. I went and took her class.
Oh, wow. I
took a class, basically a paranormal 101 class. I took one from their sister group and ended up, long story short, I interviewed for a position with that team and didn't know that I was actually being interviewed for TAPS as well.
Okay.
And I was chosen to be a part of the TAPS back in 2008.
Oh my God. Well, that's so cool. So tell us TAPS. It's the Atlantic Paranormal Society?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So tell us about them.
So the Atlantic Paranormal Society was founded in 1990 by Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson. Their purpose was to help clients. They both each had their own significant paranormal experience and decided that they needed to find answers. And they felt that if they had this experience, there must be other people out there needing help as well. So they founded the group in 1990. The show Ghost Hunters came on and made them famous in 2004. The show ran until 2016, took a quick break, and is now running again on Discovery Plus.
Oh, wow.
So the group has been around for a really long time. Basically in Rhode Island, based out of Rhode Island, but they investigated all over New England at that time in the very beginning.
And there are paranormal investigating teams in all the states under TAPS?
So there actually are. There's what they do. We have a network. So there's the TAPS that you see on television, because when the show started, Jason and Grant really didn't think people were going to watch this for very long. They thought it would, blow over or whatever. So when they realized that wasn't happening, they kind of expanded the group and created the TAPS home team. In other words, that's what those interviews were for, to find people that would remain in New England, helping private home clients the way they had set out to do in the beginning. So that's the portion of the team that I run for him. And then there's a network called the TAPS family. And the TAPS family is all across the country and Canada and Europe. And basically, these are groups that have the same thoughts and theories and philosophies of investigation that TAPS does. They apply to be part of it's like a referral network. Okay. So they remain their own entities, but they are referred, if we get requests from Tennessee, I can reach out to the TAPS family team in their area.
And the reason why I had known about it, because I was doing my research and I came upon, each state has a different team, and there is one under TAPS here in Delaware. All right. So then the two of you, the Tracy and Tracy, meet and you come together to form Traces of Spirit. How did you meet, and who would like to tell that story?
You want to tell that story, Tracy?
Looking for yoga. I moved down to the shoreline and I thought, well, so try out this yoga place in Groton. And Tracy was the teacher. And I know in yoga at the end, there's Shavasana, where you're just kind of relaxing, meditating after you exercise. And I could actually sense spirit for Tracy that night coming in. I knew I had a mail coming in for her. But we ended up talking afterwards, and she asked me what I did. And I said, well, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm a psychic medium. And she goes, well, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm a paranormal investigator. So we really made that connection right away.
So there was no doubt about a connection when you both found out what each other did. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And Tracy, how long have you been, or Tracy B, how long have you been a yoga instructor?
I actually got my certification during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
So in 2020, I got my first 200-hour certification and was teaching for about 2 years. I just took a recent real quick break. I'm doing another 200-hour certification. So I went back to being a student for a little while, different forms of yoga than the original one.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yes, you do have a busy schedule. All right. So tell me about Traces of Spirit. And in your conversations, going forward, did you ever think that you would connect to the point where you would be creating Traces of Spirit?
It's funny. I don't think originally we really thought about it. It was just the more we started to talk and the more we started to get to know each other, the more we saw, we formed a connection and found weird serendipitous coincidences between us.
We did.
But we did always, very early on, though, I think, Tracy Ann, we did start to discuss the similarities between what we did.
And had either one of you thought about, making a union like this, not perhaps with each other, but outside of in your own world? Did you ever think, I know Tracy B, you're involved with TAPS, but Tracy Ann, did you ever think that you would be forming a union with somebody else to create a team like this?
I didn't. And I think this just really slowly evolved because I hosted Tracy in my studio, and she just so impressed me with her presentation on the paranormal. And I'm fascinated by it because it's what I do, talking to dead people, literally. And just, I know her, I really am impressed with her work for suicide prevention. And I think we connected with an event to raise money for suicide prevention. And so we just kept, crossing paths and our relationship building, and through what we discussed, it just kind of evolved. It happened. It just happened.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing for the Atlantic Paranormal, for TAPS, we actually don't use mediums and psychics on our investigations because we're a very science-based organization, as much as I believe this is a science and will be recognized as a science eventually. But we are really focused and always have been on finding quantitative data for clients. So, but we have had, along the way, you meet many mediums, and I noticed my own, what I would guess are abilities emerging that Tracy, like she said, that we all have, because I had never had paranormal experiences. And how is it that I am experiencing voices or being touched while nobody else in the room is, and that kind of thing. So I've always been intrigued on how can a medium, how can the intuitiveness be backed up by the science and vice versa, because we are investigating, whether we bring a medium or not, we are investigating with those senses and the ability, the other abilities of the mind, whether we need to or not.
Yes. And so, Tracy Ann, what do you bring into the investigation? Now, well, let me just back up and ask this question first. Tracy B, so do you do the investigative part first? Do you do all the background research leading up to?
Yeah. So this is actually so new for us. We've only just really had our first full investigation was last night. But the concept that we came up with was, yes, for me to do, I do these interviews for TAPS anyway. And now the clients are totally separate generally. Okay. So we had planned that the clients that reached out to Traces of Spirit would be Traces of Spirit's clients, because I feel the TAPS clients as well, because people are really looking for two different things when they reach out to the two entities. And if they cross over, then they cross over. If they request both. But anyway, so we decided that I would do all of the client intake interviews and yes, the historical research to keep Tracy from being influenced too much by any information. We did share the claims that they've experienced, the things that they've experienced in the home, as well as like the basic information of the family, the location and such. But as far as history, names, all of that, and even if, so the place that we went to, we had previously been in before with TAPS. So we had some knowledge of who was there, but she was unaware of all that.
And then Tracy Ann, when you come into the location, then what are you bringing to the investigation yourself?
Strictly what I sense. And I know what we did last night, I was able to almost immediately sense two of the spirits that were there. So I'm going by what I'm getting, almost like doing a reading, what I'm sensing in the area, but you could palpably feel it in the home. I've done mediumship parties in houses that were haunted. They'll come out and tell me our house is haunted, but you can feel it. It's like a heavy presence. You can feel it when a place is haunted. Wow. So I'm strictly going on by my spidey sense, strictly intuition when I'm doing the work. It's funny. I was feeling things last night. You'll see the meters go off at the same time. They kind of correspond.
And we were kind of questioning too, based on, what Tracy was saying she was sensing. I would kind of do some, EVP session where we're asking questions where we're trying to capture audio recordings of voices. Sometimes the spirits communicate in a range that we can't hear with our ears. As you know, you've been on investigations before, but we were kind of going in that direction, what she was sensing and leading the questioning in that direction to try to further gather evidence. And I will say she nailed
right on
the two. Yeah, she really did.
Wow.
So it's just a matter of how can we tie both together
and so in the end, tying it all together. Now, one question before all that: are you done doing the investigation of as of last night, or do you do more after the initial?
Well, people, it's funny. I always joke with people when I do a lot of classes and talks around for different organizations. And you see on the TV show Ghost Hunters, they're going to be originally now they're in like a hotel conference room for like 5 minutes. And they're like, whoa, look what we got. And there is actually hours of stuff to do after. We have to sit and like last night I brought 2 recorders. We were there for 3 hours. That's 6 hours of audio to listen to. If you have video, we had video, you have to review all that, see if there's anything there. So there's a lot of work to be done after. Most of it is actually after.
Okay. And I was asking Tracy Ann before I started the interview, what are your clients looking for? Are they just wanting to know who the spirits are, what the energy is? Are they looking to, I've talked to some other investigators, are they looking to have the spirit or the energy removed from the house, or are they just wanting to know what's there?
I think I've encountered in 14 years a mix of all of the above. Mm-hmm. Some people are terrified. I've sat across from mothers who are hysterical, afraid for their families. It's funny because I say mothers, most of the time it's the female. Males, the dads and husbands, a lot of times are in denial of what's going on. I really have developed this theory that either we know they don't sense as much all the time as women do, but they are just going to write it off because they can't. I feel like maybe it's because they can't physically fight this off. They're going to just ignore it. But, and then I've also just met people that were interested. And I've seen clients go from one to the other, where they're terrified at first, but then once investigations happen and they become empowered and realize these are just people, 99.9% of the time, these are just people. And most people living don't want to hurt and offend each other, don't want to upset each other. It's the same with the dead. So they kind of become, I actually had clients that we did a case study in their home in Newport, where we returned several times, and the family was a Navy family. And so they had to be relocated, and they had 3 confirmed spirits in their home, a mother or a male, a female, and what seemed to be a child. You're not sure what sex, but that's exactly what their family was, a mother, a father, and a child. And she said to me, I really think I'm going to miss them when we leave, because they had just come to this understanding, and, the respect and bond was there. And so, it's a mix of all sorts of things. I would say last night there was more, this client, this family has a little bit of more understanding since, like I said, TAPS has been there twice and we're going back again next month. They also have some fear as well.
And then Tracy Ann, when you have clients come to you, what are they looking for? Are they looking for the connection to loved ones that they've lost, or do they have an uneasy feeling about something that they're looking for you to help them with?
For my mediumship, I think a lot of them are just, they want to know if their loved ones are okay, which our loved ones in heaven are better than we are, because heaven is such an amazing place. But they're looking for, are they okay? Are they still with me? Do they have a message for me? And your loved ones are aware of what's going on in your life. They're able to guide us more powerfully from heaven. They're closer than we realize, which I think that's what corresponds to the paranormal. I always tell my clients, heaven is not like way up in the sky. It is literally another dimension close to us on earth. So spirit walks side by side with us. They're just in another dimension. So I know that as a medium, my loved ones are not far. My own son in spirit is not far. He walks beside me. And I think everywhere on earth, spirit is around us. Whether it's the energy of the past or history imprinted on the land or in a building, it's energy and spirit is all around us constantly. Wow. Constantly.
What Tracy was saying, to piggyback on that, of, spirit just being on the other dimension. It's funny because the closest thing that I can have seen on TV or movies, the way that I view it is, it's not a negative place, but in the show Stranger Things, there's the upside down. Yep. And in that show, it's a negative type place, but it's almost like that. They're just over there, and they're, we go into homes. I've been in historic homes, or even places where you literally just sit there and the house is living around you. Like there's, one place we have been to frequently called the Payne House in Coventry, Rhode Island. It's a historical location. You'll hear what sounds like breakfast dishes. We spent the night, and it sounds like someone's cooking in the kitchen, and you smell bacon, and it's like they're just over there doing their thing. And it's somehow accidentally we cross each other's paths now and then.
Tracy Ann, I don't know if you can answer this, but can you share your most important personal metaphysical experience?
So I think the most profound metaphysical experience I've had is actually with my own son. So I did lose my son about 8.5 years ago to cancer. He was 29. His name was Eric when he passed. A few days after he passed, I had the most profound dream I think I've ever had in my life, where I saw him beautifully healthy with all his hair grown back. And I had literally felt like I was walking through heaven with him. And he was showing me men at microscopes and women doing work. And I asked, well, where are we? He said, well, Mom, I told you, I'm going to help people with cancer. And he always told me if he got through cancer, he was going to change his profession. He was going to go into oncology and help people with cancer. Sure. And so I knew he's working on that in heaven. And I said, well, what do you do up here? And he said, well, we infuse the ideas that we get into doctors and scientists' minds on earth. So that was really profound to me. And he took my hand, he hugged me. He says, Mom, I love you, but 29 years was all I had. And we signed up for this. And so that was probably my most profound experience I ever had, because I woke up really mad, like, why the heck would I ever sign up for this? But I see the bigger picture as time goes by of why I lost him, the work I do, which is the best job in the entire world. And I feel like I heal through my work. So that's probably my most profound metaphysical experience. As far as like a ghost experience, I think it would be at the Twisted Vine, because I do a monthly gallery reading there, and I walk between the tables reading people. And twice I've had this happen. First of all, the chandelier will blink like crazy when I'm channeling, but I had a man, literally, I thought the waiter was right up against me. I thought I was going to bump into him twice. Big solid figure that disappears. And so I know I'm seeing Sam the ghost there so that's probably my number one ghost experience is Twisted Vine.
Yeah, it is some building. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yes. Tracy B, what has been the most unusual investigation for your for the paranormal investigation?
So I when I was looking at the questions, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a hard one to pick, because there's been so many incredible experiences in 14 years, but I guess I got to go hands down Warner Theater in Torrington, Rhode Island. Or Torrington, Connecticut. I'm sorry. I was there. It's back up for a second. It's interesting that some of your most profound paranormal experiences on an investigation happen when you're not invested. So when you're just taking a break, or if we're making fun of each other, or we, joking back and forth, they chime in on that. I feel like maybe because it's less intimidating than being interviewed. I mean, imagine you're in your house or your place of work, and people just start drilling you with questions. So a teammate and I had been at this theater. Now this is a active theater. You can go there and see shows, and many people speak about experience they have when they're there. They say people will get up in the middle of the show and just walk out and go through the wall in their aisle. But we were there for a public investigation where a lot of times teams will host an investigation at a place and people can buy tickets to come and use the equipment and learn about the field and whatnot. And so we were doing that with our sister group at Rise Up Paranormal, which is just a group out of Rhode Island that we work with often. And I had been there the year before for the same event. My teammate Rob had not. So I was during I don't know if they were setting up or what was going on, but I took him around on a walkthrough to show him the different things and what was around. And we went down into the basement, and Rob is a very adult child, and like many men, and he started touching everything, and he opened a door and an alarm went off. And I thought, oh God, Rob, now you've set off the alarm. What are we going to do? We have to go find somebody. This alarm is sounding. So we're searching the theater. We go back up to the main floor. We're in the heading toward the lobby. And where you come up from the basement stairs is a long hallway that leads to the lobby. So he and I are walking side by side, and he's to the left and I'm to the right. Behind us is a door to an annex theater. Like they have a smaller annex theater. And as we're walking, he's babbling about something. And all of a sudden, this man comes up alongside me, like right to my right. And he is dressed in a vest. He had a dressy vest on, a white shirt. He had black. It was like a tuxedo suit without a jacket. And when I glanced at him, like I said, he was right next to me, like inches. He reminded me of the dad from the Addams Family. So I glanced at him and, he walked past me, but he was walking faster than me. So he came up in front of me. And as he passed me, that's when Rob saw him. And Rob said, oh, hey, buddy, we set the alarm off. And the man was walking super fast. So now he's already entered into the lobby. So Rob said, oh my gosh, man, we've been looking for somebody to tell we set the alarm off. We're so sorry. The man stopped. He turned around. He looked at us. He smiled and he just walked toward the front doors of the theater. And Rob's like, what's up with that guy? Does he not speak English? Like, what's going on? He's an usher. He looked like an usher. That's what we assumed he was. So he's up front. I'm watching him lock the doors up, and Rob is distracted by candy at the candy counter. So now we're focused on the candy. I look back and the man's nowhere to be found. He's gone. So we're like, what the hell? That was really weird. So I said to Rob, I go, we got to go out on the street, because what if the alarm is outside as well and the cops are going to come? We got to figure what's going on before we find somebody finally to tell, because that guy clearly wasn't listening. I said to him as we went out the door, don't let go of the doors, because he locked the doors. Rob let's go of the door, but the doors weren't locked. When we went to try to, I'm like, this is so weird. So we passed it off. We went into the main theater area and finally found one of the workers or the women that was in charge of one of the administrators of the theater. And we said, yeah, we're really sorry. We set off an alarm, blah, blah, blah. And she says, oh my gosh, we'll say Bill is going to be so annoyed. He's home watching the game and he's the only one that can shut it off. And he's going to be so upset. So Rob said, well, if that other dude had paid attention to us, we would have been fine. And she's like, what guy? And we're both both of us simultaneously say the usher. And she said, there's no ushers working tonight. And we said, well, yes, there is. And she said, well, what was he? I said, yeah. And both of us are going off each other without having discussed it. We're describing bits and pieces, the same outfit. That was a person, like hands down to us. That was just a man who worked there. And she said, she went completely white. And she said, our ushers wear maroon vests and khaki pants. And we were like, and then there was another medium that was there just as part of the event. And she said, oh, I met him already. He's deceased. And we're like, no. She said, yeah, he worked here as a maintenance man and he believed he should be part of the theater. So he dressed to the nines for work, blah, blah. Rob is now losing his mind. He's like, there is no way. He goes, I'm going to find this guy. So he goes running off all over. I see his head up in the projection booth. Fast forward to the next day, I go to another event at that Pain House I was mentioning, and the members of the same team are there with us, but different ones. And I'm telling Dave Grady the story. He says, well, how was it last night? I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, we saw full body apparition. I said, I could have touched him. He was right there. I don't know. I'm describing what we saw and he goes white. He said, Tracy, I know that guy.
Oh my God.
I said, what are you talking about? He said, don't you remember last year, there were two women who had inadvertently gotten to the elevator that was broken and they got stuck in the elevator.
Oh, no.
And so it took a while for someone to come and let them out of the elevator. Well, at the same time, or not the same time, later that night, a woman was there, part of the event, and she had come to Dave at the little where the monitors were and said, there's a man downstairs that I don't think he's supposed to be here, but he looks like he works here. And Dave said, what are you talking about? No one is working tonight. And she said, yeah, I saw him. He walked past me. He got into the elevator and I smiled at him. He waved at me. The elevator closed and he went away. And Dave said, the elevator doesn't even work. We just had two women get stuck in it earlier. So he played back the video because we had a camera in that hallway.
Okay.
And you see her waving at the elevator. Elevator doors aren't open. Nobody else there but her. And so it kind of was interesting that, the medium had indicated he was part of maintenance, and he appeared on two separate occasions when a maintenance man would have been needed. When the elevator had been broken and when there was an alarm going off in the basement. And to this day, I just wish, you don't just reach out and poke someone when they're next to you, but he was inches from me. And Rob and I both saw him, but looking back, you start to back away from the event and you realize things you didn't at the time. Like There was no air movement when he rushed past me. I didn't feel the air move. When he was closing up the doors, I never saw his hands actually make contact. He was just moving his hands in a manner that I knew what he was doing.
And so this question is to the both of you. Then how do you explain to people who are skeptical of, a psychic medium or a paranormal investigator? I mean, how do you explain the energy that you both feel?
I mean, I always tell my clients, I respect anybody that is skeptical of mediumship. And I always say, be skeptical. I'm skeptical when I get a reading, like, bring me some details. So I totally honor my skeptics. But I always tell anybody, if they're in a reading, just keep an open mind about things. Be skeptical, but keep an open mind. And I don't think you're ever going to reach spirit or connect to your loved ones in spirit in your analytical, logical left brain. You got to kind of move over to the right brain and feel it a bit, which is maybe the premise of our whole Traces of Spirit, that it is left brain and right brain working together, the analytical and the intuitive. I do respect that.
And I tell people, we tell people all the time throughout the years with TAPS that we're, like Tracy said, we're skeptical as well. You have to be skeptical in order to determine what is, good information and evidence. When we go into a home or a location, we're actually, Jason used to always say on the show, our founder, you're trying to disprove a haunting. Not because it's a better way to look at it, not because you don't believe the client claims, but you want to rule out anything that could have a possible explanation so that what you can't explain is evidence, good evidence.
Right.
I love skeptics because I just want to be like, you wait. It's funny. You can always pick out the skeptic at an event. It's usually the husband of someone that was dragged there or the friend that went because the other friend's friend couldn't go. And to see them in a really active place, just their shift is kind of funny. I actually have someone in the spirit world now who was a skeptic. And he really made fun of, it was my good friend, Chris. He passed away in 2012, and he's actually the reason I got into suicide prevention. He always kind of was like, oh, I don't know why you spend all your time driving all over, blah, blah, blah. It's fake. It's not real. And after he passed, I said to him, you can come to me anytime you want. But when you do, I'm going to tell you I told you so, but only once. And so he did come to me shortly after his death. I believe he came to me, honestly, during his death. But yeah. So a skeptic to me, and people say, I don't know about you, Tracy, but I get a lot of times like, are you offended by people that don't believe what you do? And quite honestly, I don't care. I'm not doing this to prove to anyone that the afterlife or whatever you want to call it is real. I'm doing this because of the mother I sit across from in, Bellingham, Mass, who can feel safe with her children in the home. I'm doing this for the spirit that has something that they need help with or they want to be known. I'm doing it for me because I want to know. The skeptics will
Absolutely.
figure it out eventually. And if they're not willing to listen, they're not going to get it anyway. So
I feel that with my mediumship too. I mean, I know there's people that maybe through their religious beliefs, they don't believe in what I do, or they think it's all hogwash, and that's fine. But I do know it's your intent in what you do, your work with loving intent, that I do know grief deeply down to my soul. I know grief. And that's really my driving force, is to lessen the grief in others, to make them aware that their loved ones in spirit are still there. They're still there.
Exactly. Exactly. And from speaking to you both today during the interview and prior to this interview, you both seem to be in tune to each other. Do you both feel that? And do you know why?
Why we're so in tune, I don't know. We even have fun when we work together. I never realized that we would have so much fun doing this work, Tracy.
It was really, honestly, there's some really weird little things that we noticed too. Obviously, she showed up at the yoga studio where I worked weeks after, very shortly after I had a significant loss. And that man that walked into the yoga studio was that person. And I truly believe that, Tracy says it best, that spirit is lovingly manipulative. They put people in places where they need to be. And we even have, we're both Tracys, obviously, which is where the name came from, because we both have had the nickname Trace along the way. But we both have sisters named Kelly. It's just weird little things. And I just felt like this, she's a genuinely incredible human being. You can tell that right away.
You both are.
So thank you. And we just, I don't know, we did. Last night we had so much fun.
That's great. And I'm looking forward to watching and learning and seeing all that you both do with Traces of Spirit. So what are you looking for? Which avenue, or what does the future hold for Traces of Spirit?
Hopefully we can get enough cases under our belts where we can give presentations. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'm hoping for, one of the things that we could do is I love to do fundraising events for local historic sites, nonprofits and things, like places that are, maybe we've done similar things with TAPS, where we might investigate a place and then do a public reveal of the investigation, and then people can buy a ticket. And TAPS has raised money here in the local area for Ledge Light, for Leffingwell House in Norwich. Or we could go in and do a public thing where people could investigate along with us. Like Tracy said, classes, maybe presentations, and then of course the private cases like we did last night.
And Tracey Ann, you do readings in Niantic.
I have a studio in Niantic, 180 Flanders Road, and I do weekly group reading events. I do private readings, Zoom readings, phone readings, and events in restaurants. And I've done a couple yacht clubs and parties, and so kind of do it all.
And Traci B, you do a few other things also besides the paranormal. I know that you have some other accomplishments. You're a yoga teacher, Weight Watchers coach, and do you have anything else?
Well, the mental health advocacy and suicide prevention, I volunteer. We'll start. Basically, I think, Tracy, everybody I know says to me, like, when do you sleep? I love to be busy. I need to be busy. And I got involved. Well, Weight Watchers was my own personal journey. First of all, I am a member. I lost 45 pounds on the program, but more importantly, going from being a competitive fitness person to someone that needed to lose about 45 pounds, which is what I lost, all in a quest to just be comfortable in my own skin. And when I finally was able on most days to feel better about myself and what my body was capable of, and my relationship with food, I wanted to give that back to other people. And I love helping people. So that's where the yoga comes in, because yoga has done wonders for my own mental health and my physical health. But suicide prevention, besides the paranormal, I say I have two callings in life. One of them is the paranormal, and one of them is mental health and suicide prevention. When I lost Chris in 2012, he was a veteran. He was an Air Force active duty veteran. He had PTSD, came back with PTSD from Desert Storm. He had depression our whole lives, and we had that in common. We were friends when we were in high school.
Oh, wow.
And he did what a lot of people do, unfortunately, was he would go off his medication when he felt better, especially men. They have trouble.
Absolutely.
Because there's such a stigma in our country. You know,
Yes.
I suffer from depression and anxiety myself, and medication has changed
Yes.
my world. The things that I do, I would never have been able to do because I was afraid to do anything.
Right.
So when Chris died, 5 years later, I decided I wanted to do a walk or a fundraiser or something in honor of him that year. And I Googled suicide walks, and I found the Out of the Darkness overnight walk, which is organized by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Okay. And they do this big walk. What I knew then was that they do this big walk once a year in a city in the country, and people come, and it starts at 8:00 at night, and you walk through the night.
Oh, wow.
For 16 to 18 miles for prevention, and you raise funds. I went to Washington, D.C. that year and was completely blown away by this organization. I found a place where people talk openly about mental health. They talk about suicide, their own attempts. I walked 16 miles. I was there by myself. So I found another girl that was there by herself from Queens, and we walked together, and she had survived 6 suicide attempts before she was 16. And we just talked and joked about our medications and things. And there was, people think, you know, I thought it was going to be sad, but it was the most powerful and uplifting thing that I've ever done. And the organization, you just feel like you're part of a family. So I said, I have to do more. This organization is incredible. So AFSP is it was started in the late 80s, 1988. It was a grassroots movement, and they are now the largest private funder of prevention research in the country. There's a chapter in every state. We provide free of charge prevention education programs in schools and businesses. We do advocacy work at a national and state level for mental health insurance and prevention funding. Also do a program called Healing Conversations, where people who have recently lost someone to suicide can be connected to volunteers that will come and help support them through the initial stages of that journey. I'm part of the Connecticut chapter. Wow. And like Tracy said, with her work as a medium, this is how I've come to heal. And I'm doing my 7th overnight walk in June. And this year we'll be back in Washington, D.C., which is really exciting. I've been D.C., we did Boston, I've done New York City, and then the pandemic, not New York City, Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
And then this pandemic happened. So 2 years, I walked on my own around Groton, 18 miles, because I have to go with a higher amount just in case, you know. So I did that. So this is the first year. Last year I was supposed to go, but I got COVID during this, so I had to do it virtually again. But this year I'll be back in DC, where it all started. So it's exciting. I do chair a local walk in the fall. They do smaller community walks. Wow. And I chair one in Niantic, my hometown. And I'm actually chairing one coming up soon. It's a hike for hope. We do all kinds. There's campus walks that are in the spring. There's the community walks in the fall. And then there's just smaller events here and there.
Oh my gosh. Tracey Ann, you're correct. She doesn't sleep.
She doesn't. I know. She's amazing.
So you both have gone through grief in different ways. You both have your avenues of how you have dealt with it and are dealing with it. And kudos to both of you, because it's not an easy journey. And both of you could have gone off the deep end, basically, simply said, and yet you chose to turn it around. And not only are you helping that you helped yourselves, but now you're helping all these other people. So that is just so important. And I
just have to say about Tracy too, as well, Tracy Ann. So the recent loss that I had, she came to me in the most, I lost Dave, was my best friend, fiance, everything rolled into one. And she came to me when I was in the darkest place in my life. And she just gave me a gift that I can never repay, that connection to him. And so if anybody is struggling with grief and wants to connect, if you're not, Tracy can do Zoom readings, a medium, you can really feel closer and you can heal. Yeah. They're not gone.
No. And I appreciate that. So thank you both very much for all that you have shared. And I hope somebody will be able to take something away from all of what you have spoken about. As I catch my breath on all of that, I appreciate it. So just to bring it back around to what, my Women Entrepreneur Spotlight, my interviews are with women and entrepreneurs. And so the question I always ask my interviewees is that what advice would you give another woman starting a business?
I would say just to trust, really trust. I've always found like the right doors will open, the right people come into your life, trust, and really don't put off your dreams. And I think I've learned being a medium, I'm not guaranteed my tomorrow. I think that's the number one lesson I've learned with all the readings that I do. I mean, I could live to 100, or God forbid, I don't know if today's my last day, but I need to live now and realize my dreams now. I channel so many spirits that tell me, they had all these hopes for retirement and they were going to do this and they were going to do that, and they never got the opportunity. So really, there's no time like the present, and really just to trust yourself. I think that's the hardest thing, is getting past fear and trusting yourself that you can do what you really want to do.
Tracy B?
I would say something similar, just to not give up. I never thought when I was sitting on the couch watching those first episodes of Ghost Hunters that, in 2011, I'd be standing behind these two founders on the live Halloween episode reviewing evidence. If you love something, dive into it as much as you can. You never know what's going to happen, and just keep pushing and keep working.
I agree.
And like Tracy said, trust the process.
Absolutely. I agree with you both. And one of the goals that I have with my Women Entrepreneurs podcast is to create a network of other women to be able to reach out to somebody and ask for help or ask for some advice. And I would love to add both your names to that list.
Absolutely. That'd be wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So is there anything else that you would like to share with my listeners? Anything I might have missed?
Well, I would say if they're in the New England area, if anyone's listening and would like to get a hold of us, you can find us on Facebook at Traces of Spirits. We also can be emailed too. And our email address is intuition.evidence@gmail.com.
And does that email go to the both of you? And then you'll get in contact with?
Yeah, it goes to me right now so that we can still keep that separation. And but Tracy has her own separate contact information as well.
Okay. And Tracey Ann, the contact information for you and also social media platforms?
Right. So I have a Facebook page that I post a lot on. That's Tracy Ann Psychic Medium. And my website's being redesigned. So I'll give you my email, which would be Tracy, and it's TRACYANN psychicmedium@gmail.com. And I do Zoom readings, phone readings, in-person readings, and events.
Awesome. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for being here with me tonight. And I appreciate you both. I've enjoyed this immensely, and I look forward to speaking with you both again.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to Women Entrepreneur Spotlight. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. For updates on my next interview, follow me on Facebook at Woman Entrepreneur Spotlight. Until then, keep being awesome.